Why honey never spoils, and why your bread betrays you. Honey is the one food in your kitchen that acts like it has a lawyer. Bread gets moldy, bananas turn into a biology lesson, leftovers start forming alliances. Honey? Honey just sits there in a jar looking rich and unbothered, like expiration date, never met her. The internet loves the dramatic claim that honey never spoils. That's not a magical spell. It's just that honey is a terrible place for microbes to live. Spoilage is mostly a story about bacteria, yeasts, and molds showing up, multiplying, and turning your meal into a science project. To do that, microbes need food, a comfortable temperature, and this is the big one, water they can actually use. A juicy peach has tons of usable water. A cracker has almost none. Honey is the weird middle child that looks like a liquid but acts like a dry, preserved food. Many honeys sit around 17 to 18% water, while the rest is mostly sugars. Those sugars hold onto water molecules so tightly that microbes can't access them easily. Here's a simple picture. Imagine water in food as free workers that microbes can hire. In most foods, there are plenty of workers wandering around. In honey, the workers are locked in a tiny office with sugar as the security guard. The microbe shows up with a clipboard and finds nobody to hire. Now imagine you're a bacterium. You land in honey expecting a snack bar and find a drought. Honey is a super concentrated sugar solution. Osmosis pulls water out of your cell to balance concentrations. In plain language, your tiny microbial body gets dehydrated by the syrup around it. Your membranes lose their normal shape, your enzymes can't operate properly, and reproduction becomes a fantasy. This is also why honey has been a preservation tool for humans in various forms. The same general logic shows up in jam, candied fruit, and syrups. Make the environment so unfriendly that microbes can't move in. Honey just does it more naturally and more aggressively. So honey never spoils really means the usual spoilage organisms can't easily grow in it. Honey isn't time-proof, it's microbe-hostile because it was engineered by bees. Bees aren't making honey for your toast. They're building a pantry that can sit through seasons without rotting. Your bread could never. Sugar, the bouncer, the vacuum, and the don't use a wet spoon rule. Honey's main ingredient is sugar, and sugar is not a gentle ingredient. Honey is mostly fructose and glucose, with smaller amounts of other sugars. That extreme sweetness isn't just for your tea. It's an anti-microbe strategy that works like a three-hit combo. Hit 1, osmotic pressure. High sugar concentration pulls water out of microbial cells. Many microbes shrink, stall, and die. It's the same principle behind jams and preserves. Overwhelm microbes so they can't function. Hit 2, low water activity. Even as the microbe doesn't instantly shrivel, it struggles to get enough usable water to run its metabolism. Enzymes, membranes, transport systems, everything becomes harder when water is locked up by sugar. It's like trying to run a restaurant where every sink is permanently turned off. Hit 3, honey is hygroscopic, meaning it likes to absorb moisture. In a sealed jar, that's not a problem. In a humid kitchen with a loose lid, it can be. Honey's reputation for immortality depends on staying dry enough. Once the water content climbs, the environment becomes friendlier for yeast. Yeast are the chaotic gremlins of the microbe world. Some types are osmophilic, meaning they tolerate high sugar better than most organisms. They're basically the survivalists. No water? Fine, I can handle it. But even they have limits. When honey stays dry enough, yeast stay dormant. When honey gets diluted or gains moisture, yeast wake up like they just heard free snacks are available. This is why the wet spoon rule exists. If you dip a wet spoon into honey, you're donating water to the microbial cause. Do it repeatedly and you can raise the moisture near the surface. Then you may see bubbles, foam, a sour smell, or a slightly boozy aroma. That's fermentation, yeast converting sugars into alcohol and carbon dioxide.
It's also the first step of making mead, except you're doing it by accident and without the cool label. A fun detail, honey often ferments when its moisture rises above roughly 18%, especially if yeast are present and temperatures are warm. Different honeys vary and storage conditions matter, but the trend is the same. More water equals more microbial opportunity. If honey does ferment, it usually isn't poison, it's just changed. Some people use slightly fermented honey in baking, marinades, or sauces where the flavor shift isn't a tragedy. But if the smell is aggressively sour or you see weird contamination, treat it like any questionable food and don't force yourself to be brave for the sake of pride. So the practical takeaway is boring but powerful. Keep the lid tight, keep the spoon dry, and store honey away from heat and humidity. Honey isn't a superhero. It just wins when you don't hand microbes a water bottle.
Acid, enzymes, and bee chemistry. Honey's slow disinfectant mode. Honey doesn't rely on sugar alone. It also uses chemistry like it's trying to get sponsored by a laboratory. Most honey is naturally acidic, often around pH 3 to 4. That's not melt-your-face acid, but it's uncomfortable for many bacteria that prefer near-neutral conditions. If microbes are looking for a cozy couch, honey hands them a chair made of lemon. Then, bees add a clever trick: enzymes. One famous enzyme is glucose oxidase. When honey is slightly diluted, like when it touches a little moisture, this enzyme helps convert some glucose into gluconic acid and produces small amounts of hydrogen peroxide. Yes, hydrogen peroxide, the clean your wound chemical. Honey produces it slowly and gently, more like a steady mist than a chemical bath. Here's the comedy. Honey is so dry that microbes can't grow, but if a microbe tries to bring water with it, honey responds by generating peroxide. It's like a bouncer who says no drinks allowed, and if you sneak a drink in, the bouncer turns it into disinfectant. Honey also contains plant-derived compounds from nectar, phenolics, and other substances that can have antimicrobial effects. Bees contribute proteins and peptides as well, such as bee defensin 1. Different flowers, regions, and processing methods can change these levels. That's why 2 jars of honey can taste different and also behave slightly differently in antimicrobial strength. Honey is a complex natural product, not a uniform sugar syrup. One more nerdy detail that makes honey sound like it's showing off: the acidity isn't random. A lot of honey's acidity comes from gluconic acid, which forms during that same enzyme activity. So even when peroxide levels vary, the acidic environment usually sticks around. Peroxide levels vary because some honeys contain catalase, an enzyme from plants and pollen that breaks peroxide down faster. Translation: honey is a chemistry set, and different batches can have slightly different antimicrobial personalities. If you're thinking, so honey is basically a natural preservative cocktail, that's a fair summary, but it's a gentle cocktail. It doesn't sterilize the universe, it just makes growth difficult. That's why honey can sit quietly for ages, but if you dilute it into a drink, mix it into a sauce, or drizzle it into something watery, it stops acting like a desert and starts acting like a normal sweet ingredient again. Same jar, different environment, totally different rules. Some varieties get extra attention because of specific compounds. For example, certain honeys have higher levels of particular antibacterial chemicals, and people love turning that into a personality trait. The bigger point is simple: the chemistry is layered, and it adds to the "microbes, please leave" message. This stack of defenses matters because microbes don't face just one obstacle, they face several at once. Sugar dehydrates them, low water availability slows everything down, acidity stresses them, peroxide and other compounds add extra pressure. It's like trying to rob a bank where every door has a different lock and the security guard is also a chemist who is mildly offended by your existence. This also explains why honey has a long history of being used on wounds, not because it's a fairy potion, but because it creates an environment that many microbes dislike while staying stable for ages. The science isn't honey is magic, the science is honey is hostile to squatters.
Stored properly, sealed and dry, honey can remain stable for years. Texture and flavor can change slowly, but the classic rotting food process is unlikely because microbes can't thrive. Honey isn't immortal, it's just extremely unwelcoming.
Crystals, fermentation, and one safety plot twist. Honey can still freak people out because it changes appearance. The biggest panic moment is crystallization. One day it's smooth and golden. Next day it's pale and grainy like it joined a band called Sugar Gravel. That is not spoilage. Honey is a super saturated solution, especially with glucose. Under cooler temperatures or with tiny particles acting as seeds, glucose molecules line up and form crystals. It's chemistry doing organizing, not microbes doing chaos. Different honeys crystallize at different speeds. Honeys with more glucose tend to crystallize faster. Raw honey often crystallizes sooner because it contains pollen and tiny particles that act like crystal starters. If your honey crystallized, that can actually be a sign it's real honey and not aggressively processed syrup. Crystallized honey is safe to eat. Some people love it because it spreads like soft butter instead of dripping everywhere. If you want it liquid again, warm the jar gently in warm water and give it time. Think warm bath, not volcanic punishment. Avoid blasting it with high heat because overheating can dull flavor and reduce some of the delicate compounds that make honey smell and taste interesting. Also, storing honey in the refrigerator often encourages crystallization, so room temperature is usually the calmer choice. The second panic moment is fermentation, and this one is real when moisture is too high. If honey absorbs water from humid air, if the lid is loose, or if wet spoons keep visiting the jar like they pay rent, yeast can start fermenting the sugars. You may notice bubbles, foam, and a tangy or boozy smell. It's not the same spoilage as rotten meat, but it is microbial activity finally getting a chance. Again, the weakness is water. Now for the plot twist that confuses a lot of people. Honey is stable, but it should not be given to infants under 1 year old. That's not because honey is spoiled, it's because honey can contain spores of a bacterium called Clostridium botulinum. Adults and older kids usually handle those spores without problems. Infants have immature digestive systems, and in rare cases, the spores can grow and produce toxin, leading to infant botulism. So honey is a forever food for your pantry, but not for a baby. Also, honey isn't literally the only food that can last a long time. Salt is basically a rock, sugar can last ages, dried beans can last for years. Honey just feels special because it's a liquid that behaves like a preserved product. So the punchline is simple. Honey lasts because it's a microbial nightmare. Low usable water, high sugar, natural acidity, and bee-made chemistry that adds extra antimicrobial pressure. Keep it sealed and dry, and it keeps winning. Bees really did that for us. Question for you. Have you ever found an old jar of honey and tasted it anyway? Tell me if it was smooth, crystallized, or suspiciously fizzy. If this made you look at your kitchen differently, please like, share, and subscribe to Wiseuse for more funny, useful science.